I frequently have bits of dreams that are work related, no doubt because a large proportion of my waking hours are spent in work related scenarios. Mostly the experiences are so short and so seemingly unconnected with other bits and pieces of dreams that rattle through my poor old sleeping mind every night, they don't seem worth relating. However, in this instance, since 2 of the 3 parts took place in offices, and arguably the 3rd on the way home from work, they seem to be of more significance than is otherwise usually the case. Part 1 seemed to centre around my present office in Dunstable, southern England. Apparently we had a new client coming in to see me, but for some reason I could not make the appointment at the last minute. A friend, though not actually someone who worked at my office, apparently saw the client on my behalf. When I got into the office later, both the friend and the client had evidently been and gone. The friend had left no notes or apparently obtained any paperwork, ID, etc., or anything else from the client. It was as if the meeting had never actually taken place. In part 2, I appeared to have entered the front door of the offices of a colleague of mine I had originally met and befriended when we both worked at the offices of my second employers in Leighton Buzzard. We both left there within a few months of each other to set up our own accountancy practices in Luton and kept in regular contact. As our first offices were in the same street, we had numerous opportunities to visit each other. Oddly though, on the real side, it seems his offices were basically those I had worked in for my first employers in Dunstable. Confused? I found myself in a fairly familiar corridor, though on the physical side I had last exited that front door in 1983. It had, though, been my place of work for the previous 17 years, so was obviously firmly cemented in my grey matter. Immediately to my left was a door leading to reception, exactly as on the physical, but looking up the corridor it seemed different. To my right, where there should have been the doors to a toilet, followed by a small office and eventually the kitchen and back door to the car park, was a long unbroken wall, boasting numerous long wooden drawers. One near to me was half open and I looked inside to find it was empty. Then a man I didn't know appeared from the far end and walked silently past me and went into the door to reception. For some reason I felt rather uneasy, as if something was wrong, and decided to wait until the man came out again before entering the reception door myself. He didn't come out. Next thing I knew, I was driving, as usually seems to be the case in my dreams, my present car of just over 3 years, up the A5, the old Roman Watling Street, leaving Dunstable for home as I do now every weekday, normally just after 5 p.m. There is a long stretch of countryside on this journey, and to the left I started to notice bigger and bigger puddles, although it did not seem to be raining at the time. This became one mass of water reaching out further and further over the road until I was driving slowly axle deep in a completely covered road, trying to keep to the middle where it was shallower because of the camber of the road, but deep enough. Luckily and oddly for the A5, a major arterial road to the north, there wasn't another motor vehicle in sight. It was dark and gloomy. The experience ended with me wondering if the water was going to get any deeper. That's the end of the dream. My thoughts on it. When trying to work out what these real side experiences are actually trying to tell me, in the case of multi-scene ones, I usually firstly try to dissect them and identify any common themes in the constituent parts. The most obvious one that comes to mind in this case is the motif of solitude. I only actually saw one other person, the silent man in the corridor, throughout, though in the first two parts the locales were such that you might have expected other people around. In fact, something stopped me from going into the reception room, where there was, presumably at least, a receptionist, unless the silent man was it, though he hardly acted like one, ignoring me as he did. The ominous feeling that came over me after seeing him suggested he might have been some kind of harbinger, as did the empty drawer, left open as if abandoned. The more I think about it, the more the place felt empty. The man could have been a ghost for all I know. It was quite an old building. The other thing I always look for is likely candidates for real universal guides. Well, here there is the only candidate, the silent man again. Maybe he was indicating I should go into the reception room, but if so, it was scarcely obvious from his actions or lack of them. More likely, perhaps, he was showing me that despite everything, I am never really alone, and they are always there for me if I need them. Perhaps in this regard I should have spoken to him. Who knows? As we have discussed before, water is always relevant, and the growing amount on the road in part 3 is clearly such a signpost. As it grew in volume, it became almost oceanic, as it completely engulfed the road and surrounded my personage in the car. So like the sea itself, it maybe symbolises the all-embracing and ever there all is, which we are all trying to journey towards.
Yes, going through the experiences again, as you have these, and yes, you're going to have your literal part. Of course, you need that to figure certain things out, but you want to also see what else there is with the experience and what you're deciding about what you see and what you recognize. And so ending up on the road, and the road you said you were on was A5. That would be the you're going along, there's puddles, you see puddles, and eventually you come to water where the vehicle is in the water. So you're in a vehicle, all right, so you're in one of your bodies, the real awareness, and the A5 is the fifth, which is the subconscious. So that is actually the water there in the darkness of whatever you're seeing. That represents the subconscious, is what it does, that water. So again, you are the decider, and you're seeing how this reflects accordingly. So you're driving the car, you're going into the water, and it's getting deeper and deeper, etc. So this is, it's all part of it. It's part of your confrontation with yourself, but that's your fifth body there. That's why you're on A5. Okay, so awareness and the fifth body. It's kind of interesting how it makes itself up there. So, but you're the decider. Remember that you decide. So it's not that the experience is going to decide for you. You decide with all of this what you're going to see from it. That's the most important thing. Yes, experiences first, and then what you see from it.